Welcome to The Funniest Thing, where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes. And today's topic is we put the brakes on ourselves. Think about that, folks. Welcome to The Funniest Thing, where each week we share stories about how stepping out. That was a little delay uh, from our YouTube channel. It just repeated everything I just said. But you are listening to The Funniest Thing. And once again, the topic is we put the brakes on ourselves. So think about that as I read this. Our guest is going to be Grace Deathridge. She's been on before, all the way from the UK. So here's the things we're going to consider. And most of us, and some of us still, I can fall into this trap. And here it is. Having wants is not a bad thing. Although the world views wants as being selfish, it's quite the contrary. Any successful person will joyfully admit that they love what they're doing. And that's true. It's what they want to do. They're doing what they love to do and they want to do. Most admit that they do it even if they weren't getting paid for it. The problem is, we've been told a terrible lie, and this is it, that you are compensated for hard work. Most people talk, and even I used to, as if the more the job is detested, the more admirable it is. However, what may seem hard to some, for the people well compensated for that same work, it's easy, even fun. And this is where we tell ourselves, well, this is fun, so it's just a hobby. I need to get a real job. That's a terrible thing to tell yourself, folks. That's my famous last words. I often catch myself saying that. On this episode, we're going to reinforce the truth that your great desires, what you love to do or desire to become, is the God within you seeking expression, uniquely as you. And our guest, Great Deathridge, is going to discuss with me ways to avoid putting the brakes on God's will for us to be successful. And before we get too far into this, I just want to thank all of our Patreon contributors. That includes you if you're one of them. I have to admit, we've been doing this show 13 years. And commercial free, no interruptions by commercials, wherever you listen online, at any of the podcast channels. There are no commercials, thanks to your contributions. If you want to become a contributor, it's really easy. Just go to Patreon, patreon.com, hit that, and then the search bar, just put Funniest Thing. And you'll see our logo, and you could give as little as $1 a month. Anything helps, and it all goes to the production of the show. Also, we do love receiving mail, whether it's an email, if you have a question, or you just want to say something kind, or you had an alternative idea to what we were sharing, send it. We'll read it. We'll even read it on the air if you give us permission. And we'll answer your questions as best we can. Also, we do love, and that's if you want to send email, send it to darylanded@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, darylanded.com, and hit the contact button. We also love getting real mail in the mail. That's the kind you put a stamp on. If you'd like to send us a letter or postcard, please do at P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. Also, before I forget, if you like the show, if you benefit from the show or enjoy the show and you want more of the show, just hit the like button, subscribe, make a comment. We read all the comments, and share it with a friend. Because here at Funniest Thing, our only marketing plan is word of mouth. So thank you very much. And speaking of mail, I got a postcard here from Germany from a fan, Kirk in Germany, and he wrote, "Our thoughts," and this goes perfect with today's topic. "Our thoughts are clay. How am I going to shape them today? What will I turn them into? That is probably the most important thing I'll do all day because everything follows from it. And okay. This is oh, here we go. I'm going to guess and that starts I just can't read that word. And that starts oh, yes. Okay. Everything follows that, and that starts and happens in the morning routine. And we often, or I often, and Ed, when Ed's here, we both agree, as well as a lot of our guests we have on the show, to start your day with a morning routine before you throw on your helmet and race into your day. The most important thing we could do is upon awakening, get your coffee before you take your shower, put on your makeup. I started doing this while I was still in the service. And if I could do it while I'm in the military with all the unexpected demands that are thrown upon you at a moment's notice, I was still able to set my timer to wake up earlier so I could do some spiritual readings with my coffee, think, which the spiritual readings elevate my thought life to a higher frequency. So I become a little more optimistic, and then I'll jot some things down in my journal that I might have read that are inspiring or that came to me. And then from there, things seem to be more in harmony than not, because every morning is a tipping point. And this isn't just Daryl and Ed. I mean, psychiatrists, healthy mental practice practitioners that aren't even related to bringing too much of the spiritual element into it will all agree that the morning is a tipping point, and how we set our minds in the morning for good, or if we're jumping out of bed and are starting to get engaged with all the things we need to overcome and tackle, well, it's an indicator of what we're going to experience throughout that day. It also makes it a lot easier when I do this to, when unexpected, seemingly negative things pop up, I'm better able to navigate them. So, without any more of that, welcome, Grace Deathridge. It's so nice to have you on the show again. How have you been?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, very well, Daryl. It's great to see you and be back on the show, and sending all my good wishes to Ed as well. And I've been really enjoying listening. In every week when I can. So it's still my favorite podcast. So
Wow,
it's
thank
great to
you.
be here.
Well, I could start off with a reading because it goes a lot with what the topic is. We put the brakes on ourselves. And one of the most liberating things I learned when I was first introduced to this was, and it doesn't sound liberating at first, was the problem was me. The problem wasn't a universe that was out to get me. The problem wasn't all the things I experienced when I was younger. The problem was me. And that brought hope, because it got me to the point where at first it seems hopeless because it meant no change in my, geography. And at the time, I mean, I grew up in New Jersey, and at the time I was introduced to this stuff when I needed it the most, I was living in Honolulu, Hawaii, which is paradise. But my life hadn't changed. I was still the same miserable person. But the irony was, it woke me up because there was no disguising the fact that I'm in paradise people save, and this was back in the early 80s, it wasn't as affordable. I mean, it may not seem affordable to some people, but it was a lot less affordable to get to Hawaii and stay in Hawaii back then than it is today. The flights were significantly higher. The hotel rooms, I mean, for the income, the average income, it was significantly higher in proportion. So I was like, I knew it was me. But here's the good part of that. If the problem is me, and this is what gave me hope, then that means the solution is within my grasp. Means if I change, then everything else will change. I don't need to run and try to fix things anymore. And we put the brakes on ourselves because it's a reminder that that flow, oh, goodness gracious. I had it somewhere. Where did I put it? That here, I got it right here, folks. I'm going to read something from The Secret Door to Success by Florence Scovel Shinn. I highly recommend this book. You can get it on Amazon or any booksellers near you. Should have it or can order it. I even recommend getting them used on Amazon, not just because they're much more affordable, but you also, if you're lucky, you get to see the previous owner's little notes to themselves. And sometimes those are the best things in the book. It also lets me know I'm not alone in living this way. So if you have the book, this is from I Shall Never Want. That's the chapter. And this is what we're talking about. The brakes we're putting on is the brakes of God trying to express through us. God is always flowing to us. And when we're feeling depressed, miserable, envious, any of those ideas that feel bad, we're just blocking the flow. We're putting the brakes on ourselves. And how do we get rid of that congestion? By switching to thoughts that are more God-like: generosity, forgiveness, enthusiasm, gratitude, appreciation. So here we go from Florence Scovel Shinn. God is the supreme intelligence devoted to supplying man's need. The explanation is that man is God in action. Jesus Christ said, I and the Father are one. We might paraphrase this statement and say, I and the great creative principle of the universe are one and the same. Man only lacks when he loses his contact with this creative principle, which must be fully trusted. That's when it's giving us those joyful nudges. We don't always trust those. For it is pure intelligence and knows the way of fulfillment. The reasoning mind and personal will cause a short circuit. Reasoning mind, that's the mind that says, that's illogical. I could never earn a living doing that. Well, we got a good example coming up here. You ready? A very successful businessman who conducts all affairs on truth methods said, the trouble with most people is that they get to relying on certain conditions. They haven't enough imagination to go forward to open new channels. And here's the example. And this is her speaking. I was told that Edgar Bergen, now he was a ventriloquist. I'm just letting those of you who don't know who he is. And that's, they talk through a what they would call a dummy, Yeah. So I was told that Edgar Bergen lost his part in a Broadway production because they did not want any more dummies. And the only place you would imagine a ventriloquist working would be where you could see him and his puppet or dummy. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So, oh my God, what's he going to do? Noel Coward got him on the Rudy Valley Radio Hour just as a guest spot. And he and Charlie McCarthy became famous overnight. Think about this. A ventriloquist on the radio? No way. You would think, no way. How is this going to work? It's going to be a flop. But you know what? Edgar Bergen, all he had to be concerned with is not putting the brakes on his enthusiasm for what he loved to do and what he did best. That's it. Because that is what, and then he also didn't put the brakes on, because I'm sure he thought when Rudy Valley said, "Hey, I'll put you on my radio show as a guest spot." I know he must have thought, at least for a second, "Are you kidding me? You can't have a ventriloquist on the radio. It won't work." But you know what? He just went with it. And it was one of the top radio shows for many years, believe it or not, when it was running. So how does this hit you, Grace?
Um, yeah, it's funny. I can't imagine it, but I can as well because yeah, it's fun, isn't it? And it's just, I mean, even hearing that makes me smile. The idea of it is just, yeah, quite silly, but and that's, obviously also why it worked. But also, I suppose the talent shone through um, the radio as well. And also that I imagine that the listeners could imagine the dummy as well. They were using the power of imagination to even, see that dummy and that ventriloquist as well. So it probably, yeah, worked on lots of different levels. But yeah, I love that. I love what you read. I've been reflecting on the theme for the show this week. I've been thinking about the flow a lot, about how, and the brakes, because as an image of putting the brakes on, and that is just constriction, isn't it? And limiting ourselves. Um, and then I also loved what Kirk said on that postcard about our thoughts are clay, and that is just perfect because we can see all there's so many negative thoughts that we can have that stop us, like even using the word but and can't and these really limiting words, and they are like the brakes in our minds, but and then also these kind of old inherited conditioned thoughts that are floating around in the ether. I think that aren't even really ours particularly, that we're just thinking without knowing even where they've come from. But when we're in the flow, we're free of those, aren't we? And we're tapping into something much bigger. We're in the flow, and it's just takes us to these fun places that we can't even imagine that we would have gone to.
Yeah, as long as we're not saying no, like this is the thing. I heard two things this week. One was, believe it or not, on the first commandment. If you're not familiar, I'm going to do it from memory, but I believe it's I am God and you shall have no others. There's only one God and you shall have no others. There's only one true God. And the name of God in that, even in that commandment, is I am. And it really starts to drive home the truth behind that statement, meaning I am that I am. Who am I going to tell him when Moses said, sent me? Say, I am that I am. What does that even mean? Well, it could say another way of looking at it metaphysically is I am that thinking I am, meaning the thinking I'm having about myself is molding the clay. That's what they mean, Kirky wrote, by the thoughts are molding the clay. The clay is, like Florence Scovel Shinn mentioned, the supreme intelligence always flowing to us, where Jesus said, I and the Father are one. And they all talk about this, all these books about we're connected to this unlimited wisdom and guidance. And what are we doing to it as it's flowing to us? Well, first of all, we got to be aware that it even exists. And second, we can't let other gods, which is anything unlike what we know to be true about God, the good, omnipotent. Good is another synonym for God. So any thoughts that aren't good get in the way and they become other gods. And they start guiding or molding our experience through our perception. Um, Goodness gracious. A thought just came to me of an experience I just had, and that train just left the station. So we're going to have to wait for another one to come back. But I mean, oh, it's like someone said, it's like imagine baking cookies. You have the giant dough, like your mom has that big dough with the chocolate chips in it. It's like a big unformed mound. But then she has a little cookie cutter and she spreads the dough out and makes forms with the cookie cutter. And that's where I found it. This is what I was going to read. That's where the discipline comes in with putting not putting the brakes on, meaning the discipline. And I love if you go to the origin of the word discipline, it's from disciple, and a very simple definition of discipline is just to go in a good way, to bring my mind back to going in a good way, and to learn to be crazy enough to allow myself to do what I want to do and have what have what I want to have, and be who I want to be. And when I mean crazy, I don't mean like nuts. I mean illogical. Illogical, because Edgar Bergen could have easily dismissed Rudy Valley's offer as I don't think that, why bother? That doesn't make any sense. Whoever heard of ventriloquist on the radio? I met this years ago. I met an attorney who happened to be Jewish. This was a great one. So someone said, well, Jesus was Jewish. And he said, come on, whoever heard of a Jewish carpenter? I thought that was a good one coming from him. Uh, but because it's the same thing. Whoever heard of a ventriloquist on the radio? So this was in the morning routine this morning. I'm pulling this big book out. It's called the Fillmore Study Bible. It's the New Testament metaphysically interpreted. You may even be able to get this free if you go to truthunity.net. Is a benefactor made these available for anyone who wants them. And the reading at the end of the daily word was from First Peter, and it's verse 1, 13. And it goes along with what we're talking about. It says, therefore, prepare your minds for action. Be sober and set your hope fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ as children of obedience, not conforming yourselves according to your former lusts as in your ignorance, but just as he called you is holy, you yourselves also be holy in all of your behavior, because it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy. And you go, what does this even mean? These words, yuck, lust, and all sorts of stuff. Well, that's what's great about this Bible, because it gives you the metaphysical interpretation. And it's basically saying what I did, the commentary that I heard recently on the first commandment. We must develop single-mindedness, must think creatively or constructively, must be earnest in our work, and must keep it's in his, but I'm saying our, and must keep our thoughts on what we wish to accomplish. Become one with the divine, as Jesus was, because the Christ is revealing to us as an indwelling presence in whom there is a union of love, wisdom, power, faith, and conscience that can cause the divine to be manifested in us as we faithfully express it. And I wrote at the top, establish a new paradigm Believe with thought and feeling as the ideal you, which means the best idea of an idea ideal can be defined as an idea you fell in love with. So the ideal you, and discipline with belief, meaning going in a good way, believing in the power of God behind you because you are in harmony with and I wrote the force, the divine harmony of the universe. So when we're thinking good, we're in harmony with this. When we're thinking negatively about ourselves, I like to say it doesn't necessarily really harm us, but it does in a sense, because some people go, oh my God, I thought negative today. I'm going to bring something horrible on myself like Job. And I say, well, I don't like to think of it that way because then you could get really superstitious with this. I like to think of it, no, no, Daryl, you just slowed things down for a little bit. God doesn't do spite work.
Yeah. And we've got the choice, haven't we, to renew our minds in them every moment. I mean, yeah, I like to, yeah, I think what you said, what you just read about, and you keep thoughts on what you want, because you may have had a morning where you've been in a total negative mind stream, but if you suddenly realize it, it's like, okay, now what do I want then? I can change it now. It's if I start thinking about the impact of the negative thought, then that's going to be more of the negative.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I had a moment the other day where, well, it was a whole learning curve in about an hour. Very intense. I hadn't even seen it coming. Actually, it was one of those moments. It was an interaction with somebody, but really, actually, I had a don't want to go into the specifics particularly, but of it, but because of the person. But I I did something that I knew might have a bit of a negative repercussion. I had a nudge not to do it, and I thought, oh, it's only a small thing. It's fine. I'll do it. And of course, yes, I did it, and it did then impact somebody quite negatively. And we were a little bit at loggerheads, me and this person. I thought that this should be done this way. They thought it should be another, and it really did get quite intense. And then I was like, okay, we both see this completely differently. But I felt a lot of negative kind of energy or emotion, whatever it was, coming up in the situation. And I thought, okay, I need to leave this. I need to drop this quickly. So I just thought, okay, we'll pause this and I'll agree to what they wanted in the moment, even though I thought might need to pick it up later and discuss it further. But then I just, yeah, it left me with quite a not a very nice feeling, even though we seemed to be friendly on the surface. And I thought, no, I need to do some forgiveness. Like I need to say, well, I need forgive myself, but I need to apologize. Straight away. I just knew I needed to yeah. So it's that feels that was another inspired. Okay, now I can apologize, even if I'm still only halfway feeling resolved. I know it makes sense. I know that I was carried away in the moment and not really, carried away with some kind of negative thought that I don't even know what it was at the time, actually. But yeah, anyway, I did a little bit of a mini apology, and then I realized, no, I need to apologize more. And life just kept on giving me more opportunity to make peace actually with that person, and it was all fine. But there's still, so there's just these moments I think that life gives us, just to keep making, what do I want? I was in a prison 5 minutes ago with all, almost like surrounded with a prison wall, and I'm focusing on the wall of what I don't want. And actually, there's a whole world out there, and I can get out of that prison as soon as I see that I'm in a prison as well. Yeah.
Yes. I'm it's funny and it happens. Yeah. It happens to the best of us. I mean, I am the master at getting obsessed with a silly little disturbance. And I even feel it. I'm like, I mean, even I'm saying, even when I don't say something, And that's another thing. What we mean is we put the brakes on ourselves, meaning it really should be we're putting the brakes on God or our true selves, because that's part of the discipline to go in a good way. Meaning, some people I meet say, "Oh, you can listen to your intuition." I go, "Yeah," and they either say, "Oh, I'm moving too fast to listen to my intuition," or "How do you know you have intuition?" And I just gently remind them, that we all have intuition. We just don't call it that. We call it, I had a feeling I shouldn't have done that, or I had a feeling I should have called first. And it's just now learning to not put the brakes on going with that, because that is the understanding, of all things, get understanding. And I mean, wisdom is the key. This is what we're talking about, this inner divine wisdom, not just more book knowledge. You could, it's not about filling yourself with more information and memorizing it. It's about the real esoteric, I mean, the origin of the word, not esoteric, the etymology of the word educate or education means to draw out, to see from within. It's a divine wisdom that's inherent in all of us. And I usually put the brakes on that. And that's what we're talking about, not putting the brakes on our true selves. Another thing that I like that to help us with this is affirmations. Um, Recently, I gave a talk at the Unity of Burbank here in California, and oh, I can't remember the title of the talk, but I do recall I was talking about, the power of affirmations, and it all hinges on what do we really believe about God or the universe? Meaning, do we believe it? And I used a quote from Albert Einstein: the most important question an individual must ask is whether we live in a benevolent or a hostile universe, because everything else follows that. But I forget, it's a conscious choice we must ask every day. I have to remind myself, are you living in a hostile universe with a loving God? Are you living with a loving God or a hostile God, a punishing God? This morning, I came up with a little affirmation for myself. I said to myself, I wrote it in my book. Remember, after we do the morning routine, we have a little journal we could write on. And I wrote, the world is out to bless me. Because for so long, I used to think that, well, everyone's out to get me. No, everyone's out to bless you. That's making that decision that Einstein said we should do. And affirmations, this is the thing. Some people go, affirmations. I don't know. Well, we're always doing affirmations. Affirmation means to make firm. Most of the time, we're thinking negatively, though, and we're affirming negatively, and we got into the habit of it. So when we say something positive, it feels a little odd at first if you're new to this. And that's understandable. It was to me. I thought, I'm just lying to myself. Well, listen, I was lying to myself before, telling myself, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. What's the use? Over and over and over and over. You know, you're too fat. You're not muscular enough. Whatever it was, over and over and over. Well, that's just repeating negative affirmations. I made those ideas firm in my subconscious mind, and that's the paradigm that now starts to my habits now, my actions and my feelings now keep me in this, like it's operating system. So we got to break out of it. But here's the good news. When we say affirmative things to ourselves, we're actually aligning ourselves with all the power of the universe, because that consciousness within us is always guiding us to good. So in her book, Where is that one I just had? Here it is. Another reading from The Secret Door of Success is on page 75, if you have it. And here it is. This is what we're talking about. If you ask for success and prepare for failure, you will receive the thing you have prepared for. I tell in my book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, of a man who asked me to speak the word that all his debts be wiped out. After the treatment, he said, now I'm thinking what I'll say to the people when I haven't the money to pay them. A treatment won't help you if you haven't faith in it. For faith and expectancy impress the subconscious mind with the picture of fulfillment. When I was saying to myself, and I still, these thoughts become unconscious. The world's out to get me. What's the use? They don't like me there. That's why they're not inviting me back. That's the expectancy, folks. I may want to be invited there, but if I'm not minding my, remember the cookie cutter in my mind, shaping my experience through my thinking. And then she goes on to say, in the 23rd Psalm, we read, He restoreth my soul. Your soul is your subconscious mind and must be restored with the right ideas. Whatever you feel deeply is impressed upon the subconscious and manifests in your affairs. It becomes our operating system. And a lot of the stuff we were told or noticed around us growing up or in school doesn't necessarily serve us, but we accepted it and felt it and believed it so strongly, it became part of the, what now we're going to call our old operating system. If you are convinced that you are a failure, you will be a failure until you impress the subconscious with the conviction you are a success. This is done by making an affirmation which clicks. A friend in a meeting said that I had given her the statement as she was leaving the room. The ground you are on is harvest ground. Things with her had been very dull, but this statement clicked. Harvest ground, rang in her ears. Good things immediately commenced to come to her and happy surprises too. There you have it.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I love your the world is out to bless me because it's fun, isn't it? It's really
Yeah.
fun. And that's yeah, that's just gonna and it's yeah, that turning around of a usually quite yeah, negative, yeah, very, very old, horrible thought that life's out to get me.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and what do? We get evidence of it
yeah,
because we're the
yeah.
ones. And that's what I'm then doing is I'm giving power, like the first commandment, to other gods. These other gods, I'm making them the guiding force. That's the key to a god, the guiding force in my life. And what
Mm,
do? We see evidence of it.
mm, mm. Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
psychologists, they'll tell you even as soon as you say or accept or perceive a positive idea, like the world is out to bless me, and you let that, I mean, you
Mm,
can't say that without a smile.
no.
The world is out to, because it's so ironic and it seems outrageous compared to
Mm,
what everyone says. The world's out to get you, the world is out to get me. So there's a delightful feeling, and that's the good thing, because like the psychiatrists say, as soon as your mind accepts a new idea, well, then your mind will look for evidence of it in your reality. It will find it.
mm, mm. Yeah. And I love that the power of that. I mean, the morning routine is wonderful, and that when you're reading inspired thought to help you start the day, in a well in a as well at the start of the day as you mean to go on throughout the day as well. You don't want to just do it and then forget about it. You're setting yourself up to carry that through, and with the journaling, you can have that fun as well, and you're yeah you're kind of accessing that don't know creative mind to see what comes through fresh that morning. I was doing a bit of writing earlier when I was reflecting on this, and I was thinking, I don't know, it popped into my mind about I don't know if you've ever watched any Sherlock Holmes. There was like a recent series of Sherlock Holmes in with Benedict Cumberbatch. I say recent; it's about 10 years ago now, but relatively recent. And he was talking about his mind palace. Like if he was trying to solve a crime, he'd go to his mind palace. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the different ways of thinking. You know, there's the old way of thinking which we've inherited or been conditioned, and then there's the kind of the new thought is the more like palatial, you know, when we're in tune with or in the flow, it's going to come like palatial thinking, like almost just, or yeah, even blue sky thinking, you could say as well. It's that openness of the mind, and yeah, where really it's only going to be good thoughts coming through then. um, yeah.
I like that. And that's where the discipline comes in. The discipline I used to think meant whipping myself into doing things I ought to be doing. And the whole thing was just, it's distasteful. It does not work. It's not really the right use of willpower. The correct use is the utilizing the actual origin and meaning of the word, which is no, to just go in a good way with my thinking, to just use my will to encourage myself to, okay, we can't keep thinking like this, the problem thinking, and let's do what we can do that we know we can do that will help open up to palatial thinking. Sometimes it's as simple as these silly little slogans: move a muscle, change an emotion. And what that means is, what's something simple that's right in front of me to do that I could be doing? Sometimes it's just the pile of dishes. But I don't feel like that. I need to really be working on this. No, Daryl, just wash the dishes. And as soon as I do, it opens up that palatial thinking. I'm doing something constructive, even if it's little. Somehow, that's the healthy discipline. Constructive, or something generous. Write a postcard to somebody, something generous. Smile, hold the door open, anything. Like, it's funny because it's selfish, but is it? It's like being generous is, I'm doing it to open my mind to healthier, to improve my emotion, my emotional experience, and to get out of the being analyzing the problem too much and get into the solution or accepting the solution. And it seems silly, but you know what? I don't fight it anymore. I just do it. I just go with it and I do it. I'll wash the clothes. Okay, I could do a load of clothes. And it's funny how it changes everything. I don't want to vacuum it. I'll just start vacuuming. And all of a sudden, now the problem that was over here gets resolved because I'm vacuuming over there. There's actually a good joke. Can I tell you a quick joke along these
Oh,
lines?
yeah, please.
Okay, a doctor, lawyer, and engineer were sentenced by a king to be executed by guillotine. So the first one in line was the doctor. And the king asked, "Do you want to face up or face down?" And the doctor says, "I'm brave. I'm going to face up." All right. So he gets set in the guillotine. He's looking up at the blade. The executioner releases the blade. It comes down and stops just inches before his neck. And the crowd is like amazed, and the king is like, "Wow, God stepped in. Okay, you're free to go." And the doctor joyfully leaves. Now it's the lawyer, face up or face down. I'm not, if the doctor's facing up, I'm not gonna look like a coward. I'm gonna face up. So he sets him in there. He's looking up at the blade. The executioner releases the blade, stops again. The crowd goes crazy, and the king is like, "This is definitely divine intervention. You're free to go." And the lawyer joyfully leaves.
Mhm.
The engineer, it's his turn. Face up or face down? Of course, I'm going to face up. He faces up, he gets in there. And just before the executioner pulls the cord to release it, the engineer says, wait, wait, wait. I think I see what the problem is. Instead of just joyfully accepting the solution, but I do, I mean, it's funny because there's like a little overworking engineer within all of us, right? That's constantly going, well, wait a minute, this is too good to be true. Oh, that's the worst. That's one of my famous last words as well.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
nothing is too good to be true, folks. If it's
Mm.
happening, accept it. Just say thank you, God, and accept it.
Mm. Yeah. And yeah, I'm one of my big passions is singing at the moment. Well, not at the moment, but generally. And I do a lot of singing. And yeah, to sing, you need to relax. You need to, and actually to hit the high notes, you need to actually smile as well, so that you've got space. Because it's all about creating space and ease in the body. And yeah, so that's how you can sing the best and the most free way. And I love that as a metaphor for life, because it's true. It's the more relaxed we are, the more smiling we are, and yeah, in contact with the breath, and also feeling your body, on your feet on the floor as well. But yeah, that shouldn't be a hard thing. It's all about relaxing. So you're not meant to strive to do any of that either. It's just dropping into it, isn't it? And enjoying it. And then that frees the voice, that frees the beautiful sound that can come out of the human body. And I love that as a metaphor.
Yeah, I mean, all these things confirm, because what is the antithesis of we put the brakes on ourselves is we let go.
Mm,
And that's where the trust comes in, because
mm,
the nerves, because as you were telling that story, I think of it as just some of the things I do with drawing. Even drawing, you got to be relaxed.
mm,
But the tendency is this uh, terrible sentence that comes in the brain that puts the brakes on is this has got to be good, or some form of that idea, you
mm,
know, it should be perfect is even worse. And that's the antithesis to it being perfect. You got to be relaxed.
mm,
Relaxation is a lifesaver. I mean, with everything, because your body, when it's relaxed, it's at its best. It's not, everyone knows these like tension or stress
mm,
is the worst thing for us. And it comes from not trusting that the universe is benevolent.
mm.
That's the base, that's the tiny little kernel under it all, is I don't feel safe. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be do something and I don't feel safe. It's funny, you could sing fine in your bathtub. I could draw great postcards for my friends, but then all of a sudden I'll think it's different when it's in a different setting. Like
Mm,
if I'm getting paid to do it, or in front of people I'm doing it.
mm,
But
mm.
it's not different.
No, no. I bought a little badge. I was in the Netherlands in January, and I bought a badge that made me smile, with a cat wearing a little tie and a business suit, and the little motto, it says, "I have no idea what I'm doing," and I like to wear that, because I don't really know what, if I the small me doesn't have any idea really. It likes to pretend it does, when kind of the ego, whatever you want to call it, is thinks it's running things, although it's never is anyway. But then, so there's that little, I know what I'm doing, that I'm right, all these things but really, I don't know what I'm doing. But the flow of life, the intelligence of life, God, love, whatever you want, the name you have for it, it really, well, the friendly universe, it that that knows what it's doing. And if I'm in tune with it by relaxing, then it's all going to go a lot better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got a little quote actually from Emerson that I found when I was thinking about this, and it's place yourself in the middle of the stream of power and wisdom which animates all whom it float, which animates all whom it floats, and you are without effort impelled to truth, to right and a perfect contentment.
Yeah. It's going with the flow,
Mm.
trusting that that energy is for us, not against us, that the world is out to bless you, folks. Say that. If you say that throughout this day, I'm going to challenge myself. The world is out to bless me. Everyone's out to bless me. I'm going to challenge myself to keep that on repeat throughout my day. And I know what's going to happen. I know because I've done this a million times. And it's strange, though, how often or how easy it is, I should say, for me to get distracted at points throughout my day and forget to keep these God ideas alive. Like everyone is out to bless me because that changes everything. Because even I can already see it because I've applied this to everything in my life for so long that even just saying this now to you, I'm already imagining myself being slowed down in traffic, but then saying, everyone, the world is out to bless me, immediately shifting my brain to nothing happens by mistake. I'm going to get there in divine order. No need to panic. No need to hurry or worry. I wonder what wonderful things are going to come of this. It changes everything. And what happens? Exactly what Florence Scovel Shin said. We get what we expect. I'll get evidence of that. There will be big, happy surprises. It doesn't fail. Or like Reverend Ike has said famously while he was alive over and over, you can't lose with the stuff I use.
Yeah, and also everything out is out to bless me. You know, it if I'm in tune with that thought, I'm blessing everything as
Oh,
well
yeah.
as I go. If I'm in that flow, then I am going to be my best self in a situation. Or yeah, I can be useful and follow my heart's desire and yeah, everything.
It really is like tuning into a higher frequency because just saying that and what you just said, it just clicked in my mind too. Yeah, thinking that naturally I start radiating this like effervescent, joyful energy. And that, without even us saying anything, blesses people in our presence. And that's really goes back to it's letting, like Emerson said, letting that flow come to and through us. Another great quote is God can't do anything. Uh, can't do anything for us or to us without it being through us.
Mm.
So when we're thinking along these lines, it naturally it's like tuning from AM news channel to FM, stereo music channel. You can't be on both frequencies. You can't be on AM complaining, I'm not hearing any music. I'm just hearing that doesn't change the channel. What changes the channel? Everyone's out to bless me is a way to change the channel.
I'm going to use that as well. I like that, Daryl. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Do you have anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I did. I'm wondering whether there was one thing. Well, there was one thing I was going to read, maybe if it came up. Well, that was it. Also, as well as palatial thought, I came across the reason I probably thought of palatial thinking and palatial thought. I was reading in. I've got a book by John O'Donoghue, who's one of my favourite writers, who was from Ireland, but he talks about reverential thought. Reverential thought breaks down the thought cages that domesticate mystery. This thinking is disturbing but liberating. This is the kind of thinking at the heart of prayer, namely the liberation of the divine from the small prisons of our fear and control. To liberate the divine is to liberate oneself.
Yes, that's what we're talking about. That's
Yeah,
exactly, that's everything we've been that was a great reading. Can you share us the title and author of that book? Because I
I
think people
can.
might want to get that. Just can you say
Yeah,
that now?
I can. Oh, say it now. Well, it's
Yeah,
from
for
the book.
people.
Yeah, sure. It's from the book. He is my favorite writer. I think if I have to pick one, perhaps it's from his book. So it's John O'Donoghue, and it's from Eternal Echoes: Exploring Our Hunger to Belong. Yeah, he's a very
Wow.
poetic writer, and he studied philosophy. He was actually a priest, but he left the priesthood. I think he was too. I don't know why. I think the priesthood he was in, it just he left it anyway.
Well, yeah, probably felt like it was putting the brakes on.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So yeah, but it's yeah, wonderful book.
It's like the other author I enjoy, Emmett Fox. He was in the going to Jesuit school to become a priest, became an engineer, and then just continued to grow and then became one of the great authors in America, the turn of the last century. Emmett Fox is someone I read from often and we've talked about on the show. Well, I guess with that, we can say goodbye and thank you
Yes,
so
thank
much.
you.
I'm so
Mm.
happy you were able to come on again. It's so good to see you.
Oh, thank you, Daryl. Yeah, and yeah, all blessings and love to you and to Ed and to all the listeners. And thank you very much for asking me.
All right. Thank you, everyone, again for being a part of Funniest Thing. And